When you think about what it costs to become a U.S. citizen, what's the first number that pops into your head? For a lot of people, it's a very specific government fee. Well, today, we're going to unpack the entire financial journey, and I think you'll be surprised at the real bottom line.
And there it is, $760. This is the number you see almost everywhere. It's the standard government fee for a citizenship application. Seems pretty straightforward, right?
But is that really it? Is $760 the total cost for a journey this big? Is that the whole story?
Yeah, not even close. That official fee, it's just the tip of the iceberg. It's really just the starting line of a financial process that is way more complex and, frankly, a lot more varied than you'd think.
So here's what we're going to break down. We'll start with the $760 myth. Then we'll explore how your personal pathway really dictates the price. We'll even look at the $1 million route to citizenship. After that, we'll dig into the key things that change the cost, how to avoid hidden fees, and finally, what your best investment in this whole process truly is.
Okay, let's dive right in. First things first, where does that famous $760 number actually come from? You know, it's not just pulled out of thin air. It's very, very specific.
See, that $760 is just two government charges added together. You've got the $675 filing fee for the main form, the N-400, and then an $85 fee for biometrics. You know, things like getting your fingerprints taken and a background check. And that's it. That's the government's price just to process the paperwork.
And this is the most crucial point. The true cost isn't a single number. It's the total amount you spend, and that amount is shaped by your own unique immigration history. Basically, how you got to the point where you could even apply in the first place.
So let's look at the most common route, the one for a lawful permanent resident, a green card holder, and see how fast these costs start to multiply.
Okay, so you start with the $760, but then, do you need your birth certificate translated? That could be another $150. Your marriage certificate? That's another one. Add in passport photos, gathering medical records, and suddenly that estimated total can jump to over $4,000. And get this, that's before you even think about hiring a lawyer.
But then there's a totally different path. For people who don't have family or a job to sponsor them, there's something called the EB-5 Immigrant Investor Program. And let's just say the price of admission is a little bit higher. And that price starts right here. $800,000. That's the minimum capital you have to invest, and only if you put it in what's called a targeted employment area, like a rural place or one with high unemployment. If you invest anywhere else, that number jumps to over $1 million. And remember, that's just the investment, not all the fees.
And this just shows you all the layers of cost. On top of that huge investment, you've got thousands in petition fees. But look at that last one. Administrative fees for the regional centers that manage these projects. That can add another $50, $60, even $70,000 to the bill. It's wild.
So putting these two paths side by side, the difference is just staggering. For a standard applicant, the main cost is paperwork. For an investor, it's the capital itself. But check out that last line. For an investor, expert legal and financial help isn't just a nice to have, it's absolutely essential.
So you've got these two extremes. But for everyone, what are the key things, the variables, that can push that final price tag up or down?
Well, the single biggest one is right here, deciding whether to hire an immigration attorney. Now, it's not always required, but getting professional help can add anywhere from $800 to over $3,000 to your total. And if your case is complicated, maybe you've had some past issues or spent a lot of time outside the US, that cost can go way higher. And it's not just about lawyers. Your own personal history really matters. Did you come here on a work visa? That probably involved thousands in fees your employer paid. Do you have a ton of foreign documents that all need certified translations? And here's the kicker. If your application gets denied for some reason, you have to pay those filing and biometrics fees all over again to try a second time. All right, let's talk about some of those less obvious, kind of hidden costs. The things you really need to plan for so you don't get hit with any surprises. You know, this table really pulls it all together. It shows a super clear ladder of total cost. You start at the lower end with family and diversity visa pads, then you climb up to the employment-based routes, and all the way at the top, you have the seven-figure commitments for investors. Your starting point really does define your financial journey. And believe it or not, the costs don't always stop when your application is approved. You're going to want a passport, right? That's another fee. Sometimes processing delays can create new problems that require more legal advice. And for investors, needing ongoing international tax help is just a fact of life, a recurring expense. So after going through all these numbers, from a few $1,000s all the way up to over $1 million, what's the single most important investment you can possibly make in this process?
It really all boils down to this. The whole process is complicated. The stakes are incredibly high, and mistakes are expensive. So investing in good, qualified legal advice, it's not really an extra. It's an essential part of the plan to make sure you get it right the very first time.
At the end of the day, weighing all of these financial costs against the benefits, that's a deeply personal decision. And it brings us to the final and maybe the most important question of all. One that isn't about the price, but about the value you place on finally reaching that destination.